Max Payne 3. I've got a lot to say about this game. It's a game with a ton of redeeming qualities and many things that I love about it. But it's also a game that managed to completely ruin the legacy of a formerly great series and put it on ice for nearly 15 years. Max Payne 3 came out in 2012 and there hasn't been another game in the series since then, as of the writing of this video. This game does have its hardcore fans, and I really do understand why. It's an even greater tragedy in my eyes that it achieves some really great highs only to be brought down by such terrible lows. Despite the love that it gets, whether justified or not, this game brought the series to a screeching halt. Poor reception at the time doomed the series as Rockstar has their priorities in Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. It's really no surprise Grand Theft Auto 5 has brought in $8.5 billion over its lifetime, so many fan-favorite Rockstar series just don't get the love that they deserve. From Bully to Manhunt, these series will probably never see the light of day again. Until recently, the Max Payne series was just another casualty of this. There's some upcoming remakes of the first two games actually developed by Remedy, the original creators, that I am just brimming with excitement for. I want to revisit Max Payne 3 and really try to understand what Rockstar was going for, as well as determine what precisely has bothered me about it for all these years. This retrospective will contain spoilers for the entire game, including the ending, so you've been warned. With that out of the way, let's just cut to the chase. The game opens to Max entering his apartment in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We get to listen to Max monologue about his addiction to alcohol and painkillers.
No. If I'm honest, I just got kind of bored of boozing. I mean, once in a while, but not all the time.
They make it sound like he's talking to someone else, though it isn't ever revealed who it is.
I think you're right. I think I am gonna like it here.
Max pulls out a picture from his bag. What's in the frame is never shown, and Max pitches it across the room. Presumably it's his wife Michelle or his daughter Rose, or maybe it's both. Max tragically lost them in the beginning events of the first game. He was heading home from work late. Junkies high on a new designer drug named Valkyr broke into his home just before he arrived from work and murdered them. Max was unable to save them. Clearly, the grief of their loss is still weighing heavily on Max, and I think anybody in the same situation would also feel the same way. Perhaps you or I would turn to substance abuse were we ever put in such a situation. It's possible that this new version of Max is going to be more relatable and down to earth.
Very funny. Ha ha. Yes, that is a fake laugh, you jerk.
They got James McCaffrey to reprise his role for Max, may he rest in peace. He does the heavy lifting of turning the poorly written dialogue in this game into something worth listening to and giving us any sense that we might be playing as the same guy from the previous games. After we hit new game, we get a glimpse of future events. Max stands over the body of a dying man, his head shaved and clothes ruined. It's here that we get one of the worst lines in the entire game.
Here I was about to execute this poor bastard like some dime store angel of death. And I realized they were correct. I wouldn't know right from wrong if one of them was helping the poor and the other was banging my sister.
What has happened to Max? Who is this guy? This game was developed by Rockstar and written by Dan Houser, the same creative mind responsible for Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. Characters in this game, Max included, are crude and really don't seem nearly as witty as they were in previous titles.
Don't stare at me, whore.
Fuck you, asshole! No dick, asshole!
This is especially noticeable with Max. In the previous games, Max spoke in flowery prose, heavily laden with symbolism and occult and mythological references. It gave those games a certain supernatural feeling.
Outside, the mercury was falling fast. It was colder than the devil's heart, raining ice pitchforks as if the heavens were ready to fall.
Here, that is completely gone, replaced with mostly swearing and references to sex.
This place was like Baghdad with G-strings.
Now, I'm certainly no prude, but it really isn't what I personally wanted, and a lot of other fans felt the same way at the time. Next thing we know, Max is at a party, and he has apparently made a new friend. This is Raul Passos. He might be the only likable character in the entire game. He's a little bit silly, and he calls you bro all the time.
You okay, bro? Snap out of it, bro. This is Sampa, bro.
Get your ass in here, bro.
I'm almost out of ammo, bro. Going back in, bro.
But giving Max a buddy cop dynamic to play with was an unironically great idea, and is one of the few narrative choices I have to give big thumbs up to. He'll feature heavily throughout a lot of this game, and you might become attached to him by the end. Max has become a bodyguard for Rodrigo Branco, a wealthy businessman living in Brazil, and his family.
I was mostly working for Rodrigo Branco, a local businessman. Built things, did some charity, had things named after him, won awards, owned things, people.
Max makes a comment about Rodrigo's young trophy wife, Fabiana, being hot.
One of the trophies he had won was his wife, Fabiana. She was hot and wanted to be dangerous. Some good genes trying to fight their way out of a cesspit.
He also introduces us to Rodrigo's other brothers, Victor and Marcelo.
She spent a lot of time with his cokehead younger brother, Marcello. He was a good time guy if your idea of a good time was an expensive suit, a bottle of champagne, and nothing between the ears. The middle brother, Victor, had just walked in. He was a local politician. Guy was smoother than an oil slick on an iceberg and about as toxic.
And it shows a few of the other partygoers.
That guy next to him, he's some kind of cop. I think, I'm not sure. Serious, though. Big end cop, anti-gang sort of thing. I can't remember his name.
So who's this guy?
That guy's a plastic surgeon or some kind of surgeon. Tummy tucks and cock implants.
Setting this game in Brazil seems to be a pretty puzzling choice to me. The previous games are known for their New York setting, giving them this noir thriller quality that people come to associate those games with. Look how bright it is outside here. It's really strange and uncanny to see Max in this type of environment. He really doesn't even look like the same person. I've heard a lot of people say he looks like Michael from GTA 5, but that's probably just the gray suit and dark hair. There's a lot of untranslated Portuguese dialogue in this game, and I'm not sure this was really a great choice. I'd be more understanding if they would bother to translate the lines, but as it stands, about half the time anyone is talking in this game, a majority of the audience simply won't understand what's being said. That said, to my untrained ear, it would appear to me that they got native Portuguese speakers to voice act these characters, and I have to give them props for that. Furthermore, I think it does help to make us feel a little bit closer to Max in this situation, like a fish out of water right alongside him. The party is cut short by a gang of thugs storming the place and taking hostages. We're now finally given control of Max, and the tutorial can begin. Let's talk about the gameplay. The gunplay in this game is absolutely its best aspect. Though it might feel slightly weightless and the gunshots sound a bit like cap guns, it's incredibly satisfying. Rockstar's proprietary engine, Rage, includes the Euphoria physics engine, and I think it is incredibly impressive. Enemies realistically flail and fall to the ground when shot. The first game to use this was Grand Theft Auto 4, and they've continued to use it all the way through Red Dead Redemption 2, where the physics are arguably their most luxurious. You can see the beginnings of what it would become here in Max Payne 3, even more so than what they offered in Grand Theft Auto 5, which came out a year after. While the engine is impressive in every game it's featured in, they had it tuned way down in GTA 5 compared to what we get here. The shoot dodge is improved from previous titles. Now you can stay suspended in the air for a pretty long time, and when you land you can stay laying on the ground and continue firing. This is a great touch. However, in my opinion, they made a huge blunder. No longer can you carry every gun in the game. Now you are limited to 2 sidearms and a 2-handed weapon. If you choose to dual wield at any time, you must drop your 2-handed weapon. Yes, you heard it here, folks. They actively discourage you from dual wielding in a Max Payne game. This is absolutely terrible, and made even worse by Max often switching to his sidearm for cutscenes and then starting you out in a shootout with a gun you might not have wanted to use, and you have to switch while under pressure. I can't stress enough how much I hate this system. There will be certain weapons in the game that you are likely to never use because of this, and in order to give you more opportunities to use them, they have to hide them on the map like Easter eggs. They have a similar system in Red Dead Redemption 2, but there it makes a hell of a lot more sense. Since it's an open world game and you have access to your entire arsenal from your horse, it allows you the ability to plan ahead and choose the weapons for the situation before you get started. It allows the player to think strategically, and that's fun compared to just being limited to whatever the game decides you should be using for that level and giving it to the enemies or hiding them in the environment. I also really don't agree with the decision to add a cover mechanic to the game. It really slows down the gameplay. No more running and gunning and dodging bullets, which was an iconic part of the first two games. Turtling down and hiding is absolutely necessary on harder difficulties. However, blind firing is pretty nice, and it seems effective and not totally wasteful. This does play into the more gritty and realistic feel of this game compared to previous titles, but personally I find it a lot less fun. One final gripe. You can set the game to free game mode, but regardless of this, it will still drag your cursor away from the enemy you want to shoot at. Look here. I am not trying to shoot the enemy way behind back there. I am trying to shoot the one taking cover behind the table. This is unforgivable. It also commits a cardinal sin with another aspect of the gameplay. It gives you collectibles in the form of clues and golden gun parts. Then, when you have the audacity to, actually look for those collectibles, the characters in the game rush you. And when you're alone and it's just you and Max, Max will start yelling at you.
I knew if I didn't get to the girls soon, they'd be leaving this place with either a price on their heads or a tag on their toes.
At some points, the game will even give you a failure state if you dawdle for too long.
I was lost. The last time I'd been in a nightclub, it was in a different century, and I'd left head first out of the back door with a foot up my ass. The girls were gone, and so was I.
This is an absolutely criminal thing to do when you're designing your game. If you actually like to hunt for collectibles, this game will do its best to make you hate it. That said, the graphics are pretty great in my opinion. Rockstar has produced a lot of really beautiful looking games using Rage, and I hope they continue to do so. In the case of Max Payne 3, it clearly has aged, but I mean, look at these floors, and these other reflective surfaces. You can even step in blood and track footprints that gradually become less pronounced as you continue walking. The character models and gun models are nicely detailed and stylish. The game isn't ugly, except for the elephant in the room, the jarring transitions from pre-rendered cutscenes to in-game rendering. Just kidding. Throughout all of this footage so far, you have probably noticed a lot of flashing on the screen. If you aren't familiar with this game, no, I did not add that in myself. That's how the game is. The entire game. It's just as annoying as it looks. I promise. It actually gives me a headache. Supposedly, these flashes are meant to give you the feeling of being fucked up on alcohol and painkillers, but they persist long after Max chooses to get sober later in the game. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. After fighting our way through the kidnappers to rescue Rodrigo, we are treated to a cutscene with two cops arguing in Portuguese.
Ei, vocês aí! Que porra vocês estão fazendo? A justiça local?
Que porra você acha que é, falando com belos homens assim?
Você acha que tem o direito de matar as pessoas a sangue frio, Becker?
Cala a boca, cuzão! Continua dando multas. Não põe o nariz onde não é chamado.
Remember these two. They will both be important later. We also learn that the name of the group that attacked is the Comando Sombra. Let me tell you something. The characters in this game make a lot of stupid and nonsensical decisions. Many, but not all of these, are lampshaded by Max, who seems to look down on everyone else for their stupidity early on in the game. Max has really become a cynical jerk. I really don't recognize him.
Ferrying the boss's broad and his dipshit of a brother out for the night so they could recover from their brush with mortality.
That said, he's not wrong. This next chapter begins with the family that just survived a violent kidnapping attempt going out for a night at the club. They just have to blow off some steam after all of the stress, you know. I bet you can guess how that turns out. So, here we go again. We have to fight our way through the nightclub and try to rescue Giovanna, Fabiana's sister, who you saw earlier in the helicopter. As you chase the thugs through the club, you come across an ex-cop, Anders Detling.
From Steele, North Dakota.
From Steele, North Dakota. He's a retired ex-cop who came here to Brazil. Max clearly doesn't care about anything this guy is saying, but Anders is like this weird alternative universe version of Max. An example of the life Max could have lived had the tragic events of the first game never taken place and he was able to raise a family. Anders has a girl in college, and despite his terrible circumstances, he is able to remain happy and positive, something Max is absolutely not capable of. I think this is a nice touch for Max to be completely oblivious to this, especially early on in the game. In the same room, we find a scrap of Fabiana's dress hanging from a counter. Max has something to say about this.
It looked loud and expensive enough to be Fabiana's. Her fashion sense didn't leave a whole lot of room for imagination, let alone food. The girl sure knew how to draw the eye, and maybe that was the problem.
When did Max become puritanical and judgmental of women's fashion choices? Max seems somewhat sexually frustrated. Or maybe it's the writer. Later on in this mission, there's a really fun sniper segment where Passos flies the helicopter and you have to give cover to Giovanna as she escapes the thugs chasing her down. This is punctuated by the realization we are actually in a big dumb action movie when we shoot not only one, but two rockets out of the air before they hit the helicopter while hanging from its landing skid. Completely ridiculous. Again, I don't think this is really the tone I would go for, but it is pretty fun. After shooting our way through more thugs, we catch up with Giovanna. At least we saved one sister, but we're gonna have to go back to Rodrigo without his wife. After some self-loathing, Max has to have a meeting with Rodrigo where he learns they have received a ransom note demanding $3 million. Max and Passos resolve to bring the money to the kidnappers, and the meeting spot is, get this, the biggest soccer stadium in Sao Paulo. I think this is a pretty interesting idea, but I'm not sure that it makes any sense. They arrive by chopper, the meeting begins, and is promptly interrupted by sniper fire. Max is hit in the arm and has to be treated by Passos. Then it's time to shoot your way through the stadium, during which you will learn that the guys who interrupted the exchange were a group of right-wing paramilitary thugs. We don't know their name for now, but this won't be the last we see of them. We also learn that the type of rifle that Max was shot with earlier was a fucking .50 caliber Barrett. If you don't know anything about that, I'm just gonna let you know that you don't survive that. I promise. Not only that, but the gang member with the money who we will be chasing throughout the stadium complex was shot in the torso with the same rifle. He leaves blood trails all over the place, but somehow he manages to just keep going all the way to the end. That's completely ridiculous, but okay, let's suspend our disbelief. Which would be easier to do if it weren't for what happens next. Passos picks up the rifle to cover us as we run around the stadium bleachers. Then we find a sniper rifle of our own to use. Suddenly, he's out of ammo, and I suppose all the other guns in the immediate area just disappeared because now it is our job to cover him while he runs defenseless through the stands. Now this .50 caliber sniper rifle takes out all the enemies with a single shot. Maybe Max has arms made of titanium or something. Admittedly, this sniper segment is really quite fun, but I still can't explain to you why it was ever necessary in this form, except, of course, to move the story forward. See, conveniently, since Passos doesn't have any guns anymore, and apparently refused to pick any up from the countless dudes we just finished murdering, he isn't able to recover the cash and has to watch and listen as the paramilitary guys intercept it and torture the bag holder for information. During this exchange, we learn the location where Fabiana is being held. Max and Passos make their escape, and the bad guys let them go. For some reason. On the way back from the stadium, Max reminisces about how he met Passos, and we get a playable flashback segment. Max is hanging out in some dive bar in New Jersey. Drinking, of course. Seems like Max's entire personality has been replaced with booze. A stunningly accurate representation of how addiction can ruin your life and nearly turn you into a different person, though I think that might be giving them too much credit. Max is harassed by a group of young punks from the Italian mob. One of them is the son of a big-shot kingpin, Anthony DeMarco. Max decides to make some smart comments, and this gets him a gun pointed at him. In walks Passos to save the day. He chases off the thugs. They bluster loudly as they leave and tell them to stay right here.
Stay right here! Stay right here! You don't know who you're fucking with!
Yeah, whatever.
Miraculously, Max and Passos do just that, and the thugs come back. What a surprise. This is when things turn really ugly. A woman gets hit by the mobster's son, and then Max kills him in retribution. Now we have to shoot our way out of the bar. This is where you might learn that the cars explode when you shoot them, and it really doesn't take much. Exploding barrels are already ridiculous enough, but cars exploding so easily really feels strange. But let's take a moment to appreciate this setting. I'll say that it seems much more appropriate for the character. It's dark and gloomy like Max is, and the feeling of telling a story with a sense of noir comes back, even if it's just a little bit. While the city outside of the playable area clearly doesn't look great, at least they did a good job with the playable area. The place looks appropriately dilapidated. Now, you might be thinking, surely they will get the hell out of the area, probably out of town even. Oh no. That thought doesn't occur to anyone until much later. No, instead they head over to Max's apartment that is just a few minutes away.
The bar was right around the corner from my apartment. It only took a few minutes to get back.
And start drinking. Again. So events evolve rather predictably from there. The mob boss shows up and sends his 100 angry greaseballs.
I'm coming after you, you motherfucking murdering bastard! Meet 100 angry greaseballs!
To lock down the entire area and kill the two of you. Then the game takes a turn towards the lol random XD territory. As you're escaping Max's apartment complex, his neighbor Brewer saves him from a thug about to kill him, then proceeds to blow himself up with a suicide vest.
Come to me, you sinners, you evil men! You were born in filth and squalor, but today you will be cleansed. Cleansed in fire!
You can explore his apartment, and somehow Max finds some kinship with the guy. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how this made it into the final game. So you fight your way across the rooftops of New Jersey, eventually culminating with Max jumping on a water tower. I can't explain to you why he does this. Regardless, we continue to fight through the buildings and down the street, and then finally someone has the bright idea to leave town. It's about this time that Max wakes up on a boat. Apparently, Max and Passos are on their way to the location where Fabiana is being held. Passos explains that the paramilitary group is called the Croce Prado, and he tries to comfort and encourage Max while he's feeling sorry for himself for having slipped.
I ain't slipping, man. I'm slipped. I'm a bad joke.
He then drops Max off at a swampy shipyard. Our gun is fitted with a suppressor, a first for the series. I was actually kinda excited that we were gonna get a stealth segment, and we sorta do, but I'll show you literally the whole thing. The rest of this chapter is pretty gameplay focused. The Commando Sombra keep moving Fabiana as Max gets closer to her location, and we just have to shoot a lot of dudes along the way. Despite being light on story, or perhaps because of it, Chapter 5 is probably my favorite of the entire game. There's plenty of good shootouts to be had, and Max sensibly wears some body armor. I also like how it's kind of gloomy and dreary. And then at the end of the chapter, the game goes full-on action movie again. We get a buddy cop chase sequence where Max and Passos chase the kidnapper's boat through the swamp. However, the boat they're using gets ruined during the fighting, and they have to return to Rodrigo empty-handed yet again. So here we are, another meeting with Rodrigo Branco. After Victor and the manlet cop leave, the place comes under siege by the Croce Prado, and when you know it, Rodrigo's panic button to activate his panic room doesn't work. Also, all of his security staff has somehow been bought off, so you have to defend a young technician as he makes his way to reset a server in order to fix it. After that's done, Max leaves Rodrigo in his panic room to go clean up the rest of the mess. Honestly, I'm not sure why he thinks it's a good idea for Rodrigo to be alone, and I'm not sure why they don't all hole up in Rodrigo's panic room together, but they don't. And when you get back, it turns out an assassin snuck in and killed Rodrigo. So much for the security. While attempting to drown away his horrible feelings with more alcohol, Max notices a bomb underneath the desk and barely escapes the blast. When he wakes up, the entire building is burning. Everyone is dead except for a few goons that we take care of. Max interrogates one of them at the end of the chapter and discovers that they weren't there to kill Rodrigo, but to kill Max out of revenge. I'm not sure that this explanation makes any sense, even after we receive more context later, but that's what they went with. Furthermore, if they rigged the entire building with explosives, what even was the point of sending in not only an assassin, but an entire army? Are they saying the explosives were set during the siege or before? It seems even with the slightest scrutiny, this entire plot sort of just falls apart. One nice detail to mention here, though, is that Max covers his face when he's near fire, but you're still able to do everything, including shoot. This is the only point in the game where this happens, though. Time spent on minor details is something that I personally really care about. You definitely didn't have to do all of that for something that happens once in the whole game, but you did, and the attention to detail matters to me, even if nobody else notices it. So after all of this catastrophic failure, clearly the rational thing to do is just shave off all your hair. Here's what Max has to say about it.
It was time to take back control from whoever was out to get me. And if I didn't flush them out, at least my midlife crisis would confuse them enough so they did something stupid. It was the only hope I had.
I just think he made himself look really goofy, especially with the choice of Hawaiian shirt. I really don't think any of the fashion choices fit Max all that well, but this one takes the cake. Look at this guy. Who is this? Is this really Max Payne? Are these the same guy? I mean, even his mannerisms when he asks some locals if there's a telephone nearby and is rejected just make him into some awkward goofball. I get why Max might be awkward sometimes, but he just has zero charisma, doesn't he? We get another meeting with Anders Detling.
From Steel, North Dakota.
They lay it on even heavier this time. They're really just rubbing it in Max's face that he could have lived a different life if he just hadn't stayed late at work that one time. It's time we get to the strip club segment where Max thinks it is a good idea to look for a public phone. Now, I can't show you anything in this place, so we're going to look at this picture of a cute kitten when I need to censor something. After striking out with the phone, Max is approached by an unknown individual. If you were paying attention earlier in the video when I told you to, you'll know this was the cop yelling at the SWAT guys executing the criminals. This is De Silva. He was also mentioned earlier by Rodrigo's secretary, but you could be forgiven for not picking up on that. So De Silva lays it all out for you. I'll let him speak for himself.
Have you ever seen this guy? Sihano.
Yep, he's a real sweetheart.
Yeah, you sure put his gang out of business. But don't worry, those guys, they're a small fry. This is the guy I'm interested in. Neves. And this is his little buddy here. Milo Heger. They work for this vigilante group, Rasha Preto.
Yep, I know him.
Well, they're very popular with right-wing politicians, like Victor Branco. Now, you see, many years ago, he helped clear some villages on a bit of land Rodrigo Branco wanted to develop.
Rodrigo Branco?
Yes, he did some very bad things. Anyway, have you ever seen this guy?
Maybe at the stadium.
I knew you were involved in that business. You know, I wanted to investigate that, but I got an order to blame it on some local street kids instead. Tell me, what happened there?
Nothing. We simply went to hand over some cash to this guy's clowns for a ransom exchange when this guy's clowns jumped us and they shot everybody.
Apart from you and your boy Passos.
That's right. We had to shoot our way out of there.
They let you go. It's okay, it's a little weird right now. But I know that Victor Branco is involved in all this. I just don't know how or why. And I know that the UFE are involved in all this as well, but I just don't know how or why. And you know what's gonna happen? The moment is gonna come along when I put all these pieces together, and at that moment, someone is gonna come along and put a bullet in my head.
Of course, nothing can ever go smoothly. Or else, maybe we might get bored. So Max gets attacked and you shoot your way out of the club. During your escape, you come across a tourist. Now, listen closely to this conversation and see if you can tell me what is wrong with this picture.
You're American? Oh, jeez, buddy. Am I glad to see you? Oh, fuck me. I've been coming to this shithole town for the last 5 years. It's like a fucking insane asylum. But it's got the cheapest pussy in the world. But fuck me. I mean,
You're in a cat house in the slum, pal, doing who knows what.
I'm a businessman, bro. And they were fully legal in this country. I think. And I know how to tip, all right? It ain't my fault, man. It ain't my fault. Don't judge me, all right?
Have a nice day.
So, while I cannot show you, you can see this guy interacting with a woman when Max first walks into the place during the cutscene. So it seems that this is implied that we just saw underage nudity in this game. I'm honestly a bit shocked. They want you to believe this dude is a pedophile, but still want to use the same character models to titillate the audience? With all the other things in this game that just don't seem to make any sense when you try to think about it for more than, I don't know, half a second, I'd be willing to believe that they didn't intend for you to come to this conclusion. Or perhaps they didn't even think about it that deeply themselves. Moving on, let's just go out into the favelas and start gunning people down. Max tells us that the guys we gun down here aren't the Commando Sombra, but they all want us dead for...
This was clearly their turf, and I just shot up their favorite skin joint.
You're telling me word traveled that fast and they know exactly who did it? Just another thing that doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure that we've made any sense at all since, I don't know, the end of Chapter 1. Furthermore, this part in particular just makes me personally a bit uncomfortable. I understand that the favelas in Brazil are a dangerous and poor place, but honestly I'd be willing to bet it's still marginally better than what we experience as depicted in this game. As we are shooting our way through the slums, Max takes it upon himself to blow up a drug den. I'm just going to present it to you without comment.
Fireworks. I couldn't find any clues in this place, so I decided to do my bit for the drugs trade.
Okay, so Max finally finds where Fabiana is being held, somehow. Turns out they also have Marcelo and Giovanna. So what does Max do? He busts in and gets Fabiana killed and himself captured. This made me irrationally angry when playing it for this review. I know I've said it many times already, but who is this guy? Is this really Max Payne? Was Max ever this stupid? It beggars belief. So while Max has some sad time for screwing up so bad, it's time for another flashback. Actually, let's take a break for a minute. So far I have discussed this game in the context of its Rockstar Games pedigree. I'm going to have to admit my bias here. I'm a huge fan of Remedy and of its lead creative designer Sam Lake, who also, to my understanding, takes up a lot of the writing duties. I absolutely adore every game that they've released since Max Payne 1. Yes, even Quantum Break. It's so underrated, it's criminal. Following their breakup with Rockstar, Remedy went on to make Alan Wake. While the first game in the series isn't necessarily a triumph in terms of its gameplay, Remedy really showed that they weren't just a one-trick pony and, in my opinion, managed to write an incredible story. Based on the themes present in Alan Wake, the writers at Remedy care a lot about their craft and are dedicated to making something unique and interesting every time they release a new game. They made Alan famous in the universe of the games for writing a series of novels known as the Alex Casey series. The connection to Max Payne isn't subtle at all. Here's an excerpt from The Sudden Stop, one of the Alex Casey novels written by Wake.
It's true what they say about the fall and the sudden stop at the end. I'd lain here in the snow while the lurid chain of scenes that had led me here kept playing in my head. A rerun of my own private snuff movie. A memory of my corpse. Alone at my own wake. Thinking in metaphors again. The femme fatale was gone. Only a sour taste remained of the kiss that killed me. This was a late goodbye. 13 years after I'd gotten my revenge, it had finally caught up with me. It had been a long time to bear the pain. My blood painted the snow red. A gruesome slushy dissolved all the scattered painkillers and leisurely dripped down to the sewer, mingling with the bile of the city, becoming one with it. I can see them now, my wife and my baby. Honey, I'm home.
They even got James McCaffrey to voice it. Clearly, this meant a lot to them. Again, I'll remind you, I have a bias, but to me, this is Remedy giving us what they think is the true ending to the Max Payne series, saying one final goodbye to the fan-favorite character with a little eulogy. Even though I often wish that the series was owned by Remedy and not Rockstar, I am ultimately glad that they went their separate ways and had the opportunity to create some really incredible things that maybe wouldn't exist if they had kept working together with Rockstar. They made a classic Xbox 360 Twin Peaks-inspired action game. Then they went and tackled a time travel plot and tried to make it into a kind of hybrid television show video game combination thing. Then a paranormal action thriller with the game Control, where you fly around and throw large objects at possessed people. Most recently, they plunged headfirst into the survival horror genre with Alan Wake 2. Each of these is either something totally unique or an exemplar of their genre. It takes a truly talented team of individuals to have managed to achieve what Remedy has. Somehow, a team of Finnish English as a second language speakers with infinitely fewer resources managed to write a better plot and dialogue with their hands tied behind their back. Seriously, play all of their games. They're leaps and bounds better than what we're talking about today. Speaking of, let's get back to Max Payne 3. So we are back in New Jersey. Remember the last time we were here, Max and Passos had decided to go to Queens and then get the hell out of the USA from there? Well, of course, before they leave, they have to make a stop at the grave of Max's wife and child. Let me ask you a question. If you were being hunted down by the mob, would you do this? I wouldn't. We could conclude Max cares more about sentimentality than his own life, except watch what happens.
Excuse me. Max Payne?
Somehow, I didn't think he was about to tell me I'd won the lottery.
He takes cover behind his wife and child's gravestone, and it gets horribly defaced. You can't even choose not to do this. The game forces you into cover to start this encounter. So continues the complete lack of sense, and on top of that, it's completely disrespectful to the previous titles. It feels to me like someone involved with the design of this game had genuine disdain for the source subject matter, and I doubt they even consulted anyone at Remedy during development. It actually breaks my heart. On the other hand, the band Health, which is responsible for the soundtrack of this game, did something that I personally think is really cool. During the nightmare segments of the first game, you can hear Max's daughter Rose crying. I'm quite certain that this sound effect is actually used in the music playing during this mission. It's a great track. Despite the really horrible setup, I think that this mission is quite well done. There's one particularly great set piece where Passos covers you as you move up to take out a sniper in a church. I also really like the macabre atmosphere. I mean, they're in a literal graveyard. The graves of Max's wife and child actually aren't the only ones that you can visit. In the same cemetery are the graves of various important characters from the previous games. They include Valerie Winterson, Vinnie Gognitti, and Nicole Horn. For those of you not in the know, Winterson is Max's former partner when he worked for the NYPD during the events of Max Payne 2. Vinnie Gognitti appeared in both games and starts out as a pathetic mobster who Max tracks down for information, and in the second game an unlikely ally against the Russian mob. Nicole Horn is the ultimate villain of Max Payne 1 and the one that ordered the deaths of Max's wife and child. Sadly, we do not get to visit the graves of Alex Balder, Mona Sachs, Vladimir Lem, Jim Bravura, or even Alfred Woden, all of which being the graves of people that Max might actually want to visit. I'm really not sure what to make of this. Remember what I said earlier about someone involved not having any respect for the source material? If anything, this is my smoking gun. Alright, enough of my whining. Let's see how this chapter ends. So Max and Passos are eventually captured by Anthony DeMarco's goons, and of course he just so happens to be feet away. It's really quite incredible what'll happen due to plot contrivance. Max and Passos can kill literally hundreds of people, but somehow still be taken hostage in a cutscene. Max will just lose his guns because, of course, the game can't let you have guns so it can tell its story. I don't expect any type of choice or non-linear design here, but at least give us something better than this. In previous games, they had gameplay segments where Max didn't have a gun and had to hide from his enemies. Anytime he did lose his firearms for these segments, it completely makes sense. Waking up in the hospital, for example. I mean, it's just so contrived, and it just keeps happening. Oh, and if you thought that this thing was going to start making any sense anytime soon, well, you were woefully mistaken. Watch now as Anthony DeMarco orders his goons to make Max and Passos dig their own grave instead of killing them outright. You know what? They could have cut this whole scene, and the game would be better for it. Anyway, kill some more goons, blah blah blah, make a stand in another church, yada yada, and now we finally go to Queens because we found a phone. Plenty of incredible set pieces in this chapter, and they just couldn't be fucked to give a proper justification for any of it. Time to wake up from this flashback and head back to Brazil. So we're back in the room where we got Fabiana killed. Why they left him here with one guy is anyone's guess, but you and I, by this point, know the real reason. So Max takes the guy's gun and leaves. Now the streets are filled with SWAT cops, and we have to make our way out of the slums. At some point, Max makes a reference to the Geneva Convention.
Man, I was guessing these guys didn't spend their spare time studying the Geneva Convention.
Now, I know Max is not dumb enough not to understand that the Geneva Convention only applies to war, not domestic police actions, but I'm not so sure about the writer. Nothing really important happens during this process, it's just another level to play through. You get a nice gun early on, assuming you find it, and you get to see how brutal the UFE are. That's the name of this Brazilian SWAT group. You also see people being kidnapped and taken somewhere. Toward the end of the chapter, you see them being passed off to the Cracha Preto. This raises some genuinely interesting questions. Right after this, you watch as Marcelo is burned alive inside of a stack of tires, and then you decide to punch out the guy responsible. Max kills the disfigured guy that we saw earlier in Chapter 3 during a QuickTime event sequence. I think the only one in the entire game. Actually, hold on a second. We definitely saw this guy earlier. Now we just killed him. Are we ever going to learn why he was disfigured or anything else about him? I dare you to play this game, and then I double dog dare you to remember this guy's name. Anyway, Max rescues Giovanna. They make their escape, on to the next chapter. So, Giovanna is pregnant. With Passos' baby. Well, that's great, honestly. I'm happy for them. I think Max was pretty attracted to Giovanna. His reaction here when he finds out is pretty priceless. He doesn't emote much, but I think they were hinting at it. Again, not a lot of important things happen. We get some decent shooting segments. We make our way through the bus depot and end up stealing a bus. These vehicle segments are always the best part of the game. I'm a sucker for this stuff. Just give me unlimited ammo and a ton of baddies, and I'm a happy camper. But all good things must come to an end, so this chapter ends with Passos rescuing his girlfriend and leaving you behind. Luckily, De Silva shows up, or rather an empty car with De Silva's voice. Anyway, I had to play through this game twice for this review, and this happened both times. So, all is revealed. Turns out Victor was the one who had Rodrigo killed and is the mastermind behind it all, and Max was tricked into coming here by Passos. Everyone betrayed him. Max is the fall guy. Maybe I missed something here. Perhaps I just simply don't understand, and you can explain it to me. What the hell was the point of bringing Max Payne all the way from America into this scheme, other than to be a foil to your own plans, to kill all of your guys working for you? What exactly is Max supposed to take the fall for? Was Max supposed to go to prison for all the people that he killed? I really don't get it. Personally, I think that you and I are thinking about it more than the writers of this game ever did. What a joke. I think Max should have just got on a plane a long time ago and said goodbye to this place. We will be visiting an airport later, but it won't be for this reason. It's time for another flashback, gang, this time to Panama. Max and Passos are guarding Marcelo during a party aboard a yacht. I bet I don't even have to tell you how this goes down. If you're wondering why I haven't talked about this guy very much...
Fucking monkey from a fucking slum. You acts cool with me?
Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about. Anyway, so yes, the boat gets hijacked while Max is sleeping on the job. After he wakes up, we get a chance to search some of the nearby rooms. There are some clues, not anything of consequence, so we shoot our way through the ship, and it is revealed that we are in the Panama Canal. Yes, somehow pirates hijacked the ship and proceeded to have a gun battle aboard it right in the middle of the Panama Canal. Just took the entire thing over, in fact. You eventually fight your way off the ship, meet up with Passos, and go with him to rescue the other passengers. Let me show you how that turns out.
Fuck, man. This is brutal. I didn't think things would be like this.
So, why are we here? Apparently, Marcelo was smuggling money and these pirates found out about it. This is Marcelo and Passos loading it into the truck. Does this feel particularly pointless to you, or is it just me? It kind of feels like they said, we want to have a gun battle aboard a yacht and we want to use the assets we're using for GTA 5, so what can we do? And then they just came up with this. Well, once we're finished having our flashback, we end up back with Da Silva. Okay, so Da Silva takes Max to the home base of the Crotcha Preto where they're taking all the kidnapped people. You sneak in and stick a water bottle to your gun to use it as a suppressor. Now, of all the things that doesn't make any sense on his face, I think this is actually somewhat realistic. Too bad it's completely pointless, as there's no way to proceed through this level with stealth. Shoot more dudes, explore the building, we come across Serrano. Apparently, he was one of the people who was captured in the raids earlier and was so brutally beaten that he's catatonic. Max takes pity on him and decides not to kill him. Yes, you heard that right. Max does not kill the one responsible for Fabiana's death and for many of the events leading up to now. Also, this next cutscene can exist. Serrano is broken from his catatonic state when he wanders into this room. This guy was at the party at Chapter 1, a plastic surgeon. Why is he involved with the harvesting of organs? I have no idea. Why does he have stacks of cash sitting around in his room? Your guess is as good as mine. Max doesn't seem to understand what is happening. Perhaps he's shocked into disbelief. I'm not sure. Max finds some explosives and decides to rig the building to explode. Now, if you were paying attention earlier and you recognize this guy, Nevis, and you were thinking to yourself that we were about to have an exciting confrontation with him, well, then here you go.
I told you the city was dangerous, friend.
I kind of like it. It's growing on me.
Nice to see a happy tourist smiling.
Oh yeah, and Max just blew up a building that he's standing on the roof of. Passos comes back with the chopper to rescue him, lands it on the roof of the building, and they make it away just before it collapses. How did he know that he was there? Stop asking questions. I'm not sure it really hit me how stupid this all is while I was playing the game, but since I had to write it all down, I'm taking a moment to really sit back and reflect. I've been waiting for this game to start making any sense whatsoever, and we're almost at the end of the game. Let's just give Chapter 13 a try. So Max walks directly into a police station to get himself captured. Wait a second. How did Max learn Portuguese that quickly?
Diga a Becker. Que vim para ele.
He was completely incompetent just hours ago. Okay, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. First, we have to make up with Passos and say goodbye to him and Giovanna. It's a touching moment, and if there's anything about this game that I really like, it has to be the bromance between Max and Passos. When this game does its best to be a buddy cop movie is when I think it shines the most, but sadly, that's all over now. Da Silva takes us to the police station and we shoot our way through it. Along the way, we meet the pedo guy from earlier. The game gives you the opportunity to kill him. I don't really have anything to say about this. Hey, remember earlier when Max survived getting shot by that 50 caliber sniper rifle? Well, surely we can take one little bullet from this machine gun on the armored vehicle, right? Wrong. So, blow it up, shoot some more dudes, and eventually we come across a slideshow presentation. It lays out the entire plot. Here it is.
The CS were all but out of business in Sao Paulo, and suddenly Becker and Victor looked like local heroes in the war on crime. They'd really gotten their money's worth outsourcing their problems onto me. My old pal Serrano. We'd both been unwitting clowns in this sorry circus. Part of me hoped he'd made it out of that hotel alive. I didn't recognize the guy. Maybe this was the new slum king De Silva had talked about. A throne never stays empty for long. Fame at last. It was no great surprise I'd made Ufe's most wanted list. I hadn't done much to improve the reputation of Americans abroad over the past few weeks, and there they were, my illustrious employers, 3 dead and still every chance I'd go 4 for 4. None of this was going to look good on the resume. And I was in good company. Howell Passos, sent up north to find a washed-up gringo who would act tough and play dumb. Boy, did he ever deliver.
I still don't think it makes any sense even after watching this. I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. After this, we get a boss fight with the assassin who killed Rodrigo. You just have to shoot at the ceiling tiles and then eventually bring down what looks like an air conditioning unit on his head. Okay, whatever. Following that, we find Becker in his office. Of course, since nobody makes any rational decisions in this game, Max decides to try to strangle him to death. Victor appears from the shadows, stops him from finishing the job, and then they kill Max. No, of course they don't kill him. Of course they just scurry off and lock the door. Let's just finish this shit. So Victor makes it to the airport to escape the country. Max follows him there, gets on a luggage conveyor, and then gets into the back. This right here is the worst, most ridiculously unfair segment in the entire game. It starts you off with no bullet time, no cover, and really not much ammo either. Furthermore, only these guns with laser sights are available, and they are completely useless. Look at me try to use these things. None of the guns in the rest of the game have any recoil whatsoever, but slap a laser sight on it and suddenly you're just spraying and praying. Completely ridiculous. You have no idea how mad this makes me. At least in the previous level we could just leave that shit on the ground. No, you'll run out of ammo if you don't pick these up and use them right now. Unbelievable. Let me talk about something good before I blow a gasket. Let's listen to the soundtrack to this stage for a second. I like Health's music a lot. Maybe it's the presence of vocals on this track, but this is the first one in the game that I think actually sounds like their music. It really sets the mood well for this shootout in the airport. Sometimes you're just sitting behind cover and shooting at dudes who are far away, but other than that, the airport level is challenging and fun. Along the way, we have one final encounter with Anders Detling,
From Steele, North Dakota.
and it is mostly just played for laughs this time around. The final boss fight is with the manlet Becker. He's so small he can completely hide behind a riot shield while he shoots grenades at you. This is a really hard fight, but keep moving and keep shooting and you'll make it through. We blow up a grenade with the right timing and that's it for Becker. Now we finally make it back to the flash forward sequence from the beginning of the game, all in full context. This line still sucks.
Here I was about to execute this poor bastard like some dime store angel of death.
Let's put this game to bed. We have to jump into Silva's car and chase down Victor's jet as they're trying to take off from the runway. We blow up a ton of cars, blow up the jet, and then we get our chance to finally kill the real villain of this game. Except we don't. We just break his leg. And then he gets Epsteined in prison. So that was Max Payne 3. It's not hard to see why so many fans were upset at the time. I'm still upset playing through it in 2025. Rockstar are such great developers, and they have some incredible writers who work for them. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite games of all time and is clearly a wonderful example of great writing. I even think that a lot of the GTA games, while being a bit sophomoric, are also pretty well written. They have a certain heart and charm to them and have managed to generate many characters that fans have come to love over the years, as well as interesting betrayals, biting social criticisms, wicked funny dialogue, and truly touching moments. I just don't know where all of that talent was when they were developing this game. I really hope that the upcoming Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes end up revitalizing this franchise and that we're able to get some better Max Payne games down the line. It's such a shame, too. This game really had a lot of potential. I don't want to downplay it. This game clearly had some amazingly talented people working on it other than the writing staff. Tons and tons of incredible work went into this game, and despite all of my frustrations and criticisms, I am glad that they didn't want this franchise to just die with the second game. I actually encourage everyone watching this video to give the entire series a try, including this game. The Max Payne series will always have a special place in my heart. Thank you to Remedy, thank you to Rockstar, and thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. So, what do you say? Should I keep making these? Let me know what you think. Peace.